Gabriele povedala, že ona a ja sme hlúpi.
Our way of studying Buddhism is stupid.
Že náš spôsob štúdia buddhizmu je hlúpy.
And our teacher, Nishijima, Gudo Nishijima,
a náš učiteľ, Gudo Nishijima,
was stupid.
bol tiež hlúpy.
Gudo means stupid.
Gudo znamená hlúpy.
So his name was stupid.
Takže jeho meno bolo hlúpy.
Stupid way.
Stupid way.
Jeho meno bola hlúpa cesta.
Gudo.
Gudo cesta.
And I agree with Gabriele, and I want to point out something very important.
A súhlasím s Gabriele a chcel by som upozorniť na niečo veľmi dôležité.
In modern life we have many sources of information.
V modernom živote máme veľa zdrojov informácií,
many books,
veľa kníh,
many programs on television and internet,
veľa programov v televízii a internet,
explaining how to live.
Kde sa vysvetľuje, ako žiť.
And there are many different kinds of therapies,
mnoho terapií,
psychological systems,
psychologických systémov,
beliefs,
rôzne viery.
And there are so many
Je kopa.
that almost every week we could find a new system.
Takže skoro každý týždeň môžeme nájsť nový systém.
And sometimes these systems are related to the other systems.
A niekedy tie systémy sú previazané.
So just like in a restaurant, we can have a big meal on all this information.
Takže podobne ako v reštaurácii môžeme si dať veľké jedlo zložené z týchto informácií.
As Gabriele said, à la carte meal.
À la carte.
À la carte.
Ako Gabriele povedala, podľa menu.
I think I have some of this, and I don't like that so much. I have some of this.
Takže z tohoto trocha, z tohoto nie, z toho si to môžete tak vyskladať.
I have some of this. I have some of this. And now I have my meal.
A tak som si vyskladal to svoje jedlo z toho.
I don't want to criticize this.
Nechcem to kritizovať.
Because there are many different explanations of life.
Pretože je veľa vysvetlení života.
And there may be truth in some of them.
A môže byť pravda v niektorých z nich.
I doubt if there's truth in all of them.
Pochybujem, že je pravda vo všetkých.
But Gabriele and I followed a completely different way.
Ale Gabriele a ja sme nasledovali úplne inú cestu.
And this is the way we follow now.
A to je tá cesta, ktorú nasledujeme teraz.
We learnt Buddhism from our teacher, our master.
Naučili sme sa buddhizmus od našeho majstra, od našeho učiteľa.
And we were brainwashed
A boli sme určitým spôsobom
by his teaching.
tým jeho učením sme boli, ako nám troška vymazal mozky.
So although inside I felt sometimes, I don't like that.
A vo svojom vnútri som niekedy cítil, že nepáči sa mi to.
I don't believe that.
Neverím tomu.
That doesn't make sense.
Nedáva to zmysel.
I listened to him for more than 20 years.
Počúval som ho viac ako 20 rokov.
And in the end, I accepted everything he said.
A na konci som prijal všetko, čo povedal.
This may be stupid.
Možno je to hlúpe.
But for me, it works completely.
Ale pre mňa to úplne mi to fungovalo.
This is the meaning of the Buddhist way.
To je zmysel buddhistickej cesty.
To find a teacher, a real person.
Nájdete učiteľa, nejakú reálnu osobu.
Not a book or a theory.
Nie knihu, ani nie teóriu.
An idea or anything, program.
Nie myšlienku, nie program.
To find a real person.
Nájdete naozajstnú osobu.
And to learn everything they have.
A naučte sa všetko, čo má.
Not looking at good and bad.
Nepozerajte sa na zlá a dobrá.
Or like and dislike,
či sa mi niečo páči z toho, alebo nepáči.
but to take everything.
Ale zoberte všetko.
And actually, this is the ancient apprenticeship system in all teachings.
A v podstate toto je starobilý systém študenta, žiaka alebo nejakého tovariša od vekov.
If you learned in the medieval times to make baskets,
Keď ste sa v stredoveku učili robiť tašky,
or to build stairs,
alebo robiť schody,
or to make roofs,
alebo robiť strechy,
or to cultivate gardens,
alebo zahradničiť,
you would learn with one person
vy ste sa učili u jedného učiteľa,
who knew completely,
ktorý to úplne ovládal.
and you would learn everything they had to teach you,
A naučíte sa všetko, čo vás môže naučiť.
good and bad,
Dobre aj zlé.
like and dislike,
Čo sa vám páči, čo sa vám nepáči,
hard and easy,
čo je ťažké, čo je ľahké.
but continuing for many years.
Ale dlhé roky vy ste toto vykonávali.
So in a way, we are following a very ancient way of learning.
Takže určitým spôsobom nasledujeme starobilý spôsob učenia sa,
Which is completely different from the way that we can learn so many things in modern life.
a ktorý je veľmi odlišný od toho, ako sa v modernom svete môžeme naučiť rôzne veci.
So it's quite a severe way,
Že je to taká ťažká cesta,
but if you continue to the end,
ale keď pokračujete do konca,
you learn everything completely,
naučíte sa všetko úplne,
without any doubt.
bez pochybnosti.
So I want to point out that difference.
Chcel som poukázať na ten rozdiel.
Many times, I'm sure Gabriele too, and me the same, we doubted.
Často určite ja aj Gabriele sme pochybovali.
How can this little man know everything?
Ako môže tento malý muž vedieť všetko?
I don't like him. He's got a strange character.
Nepáči sa mi, lebo má zvláštny charakter.
He says one thing, he does another thing.
Niečo povie a urobí niečo iné.
But despite all those things,
Napriek všetkým týmto veciam
we learned what he taught completely.
sme sa naučili to, čo učil a úplne.
And to learn something completely is wonderful.
A naučiť sa niečo úplne je nádherné.
I can see it in my partner, who is a potter.
Vidím to u mojej partnerky, ktorá je hrnčiarka.
She is a master of pottery.
Je majsterka hrnčiarstva.
She learnt it completely.
Naučila sa úplne
And it's wonderful to see.
a je to nádherné to vidieť.
And there are many potters who make lots of small things, rubbish things.
A je veľmi veľa hrnčiarov, ktoré robia malé veci, nejaký odpad
From their own ideas
zo svojich myšlienok,
and their own feelings.
svojich pocitov.
But my partner, Lisa, makes herself.
Moja partnerka Lisa robí sama seba.
So Gabriele and I learned from our teacher.
Takže Gabriela a ja sme sa naučili od môjho učiteľa
To be ourselves.
byť sami sebou.
And it took me a very long time.
Trvalo mi to veľmi dlho.
When I came back from Japan in 2000,
Keď som sa vrátil v roku 2000 z Japonska,
I didn't know clearly.
nebolo mi to úplne jasné.
And then I started giving talks and holding session.
Potom som začal dávať prednášky a robil som sessiony.
And in that last 14 years,
A v tých posledných 14 rokoch
I realized the rest of it.
som si uvedomil zvyšok toho.
I put the polish on the wood.
To ako keby vyleštil to drevo.
So there is no other way.
Nie je iná cesta.
Of course, there are many ways to live.
Určite je veľa spôsobov, ako žiť.
And for instance, you can live a valid life
Môžete žiť platný život
exactly how you want.
tak, ako chcete.
Maybe studying something here and practicing something here
Možno študovať niečo tu a praktikovať niečo tam
and harmonizing with your family life.
a zharmonizovať to s vašim rodinným životom.
And you can live a valid life.
Môžete žiť dobrý život, platný.
So we can't say that the Buddhist way is the only way that human beings should live.
Takže nemôžeme povedať, že by buddhistický spôsob bol jediný spôsob, ako ľudia môžu žiť.
If we said that, it's ridiculous.
Keď to povieme, je to hlúposť.
Because number of people living Buddhist way is very, very small.
Pretože počet ľudí, ktorí žijú buddhistický život, je malý.
But I want to point out, this is the way that we live.
Ale chcel by som zdôrazniť, že toto je spôsob, ktorý my žijeme.
Gabriele and I are very different in our lives.
Ja a Gabriele máme rozličné životy, naše dva životy sú rozličné.
She lives alone
Žije
and
sama.
has spent many, many hours interpreting, translating Dogen's work.
A strávila veľmi veľa času prekladaním a interpretovaním práce majstra Dogena.
I don't live alone, I have a family.
Nežijem sám, mám rodinu.
And I have a daughter and grandsons.
Mám dceru a mám vnuka.
And I get involved in my partner's work.
A zapájam sa do práce mojej partnerky.
And so in that way, Gabriele and I have very different lives.
V tomto ohľade Gabriela a ja máme iné životy, dosť iné.
But in another way, our lives are the same.
Ale z iného pohľadu naše životy sú podobné, rovnaké.
Because we are living the same way.
Pretože žijeme rovnakým spôsobom.
Which is based on zazen.
To je založené na zazene.
And intuition that comes from zazen.
Intuícii, ktorá prichádza zo zazenu.
And the freedom from not being trapped in systems.
A v slobode nebyť chytený systémami.
And the freedom that comes from seeing the real situation.
A slobody, ktorá prichádza z videnia veci také, aké sú.
So if you want to follow the Buddhist way, it doesn't mean you have to be a monk.
A keď chcete nasledovať buddhistickú cestu, neznamená, že musíte byť mních alebo mníška.
It doesn't mean you have to withdraw from society.
Neznamená, že sa musíte vzdialiť do spoločnosti.
And live on a mountainside.
Nemusíte žiť na vrchu.
The same way we can find in both situations.
To isté môžeme nájsť v obidvoch týchto situáciách.
So it's not about the things we do, but how we live.
Nie je to len o veciach, ktoré robíme, ale ako žijeme.
What is the basis of our life?
Čo je základ našich životov?
I think it's very difficult in modern life to see this.
Myslím, že je veľmi ťažké v modernom živote toto vidieť.
If I stayed in England, I think it would be impossible for me to find this.
Myslím, že keby som ostal v Anglicku, bolo by pre mňa nemožné toto nájsť, pochopiť.
But I went to Japan.
Ale išiel som do Japonska.
For some reason.
Z nejakého dôvodu.
And I found this way of living.
A našiel som tento spôsob života.
And for many years I did not trust it.
A veľa rokov som tomu nedôveroval.
It feels insecure.
Je tam už tá neistota.
To rely on some kind of intuition.
Spoľahnúť na určitú intuíciu.
And not to worry about the future.
A netrápiť sa budúcnosťou.
Really scary.
Môže to byť, môžete mať z toho strach.
But after many years, I'm not scared anymore.
Ale už sa toho nebojím.
So it's a brave way to live.
Je to určitým spôsobom odvaha takto žiť.
It may not be for everybody,
Možno to nie je pre každého,
but this is what we are teaching.
ale toto, čo my učíme.
And session is concentrated few days
A session je koncentrovaných niekoľko dní,
to live in a quiet, settled way.
žiť tichým spôsobom.
Not being disturbed by ideas,
Nevyrušovať sa myšlienkami,
not talking too much,
nerozprávať priveľa,
not leaving all those activities which cloud our minds,
vzdať sa všetkých týchto aktivít, ktoré zahmlujú naše mysle,
and finding the clarity that we may have had when we were children.
a možno nájsť jasnosť, ktorú sme mali, keď sme boli deti.
Original clarity.
Tá pôvodná jasnosť.
So that's the meaning of session.
To je zmysel sessionu.
It's not to meet together with friends and talk about Buddhism or other kinds of activities that may be useful.
Nie je to stretnúť sa s priateľmi a rozprávať sa o buddhizme alebo o iných veciach, ktoré sa nám môžu zdať užitočné.
It's not about even making this place a nice place.
Nie je to ani o tom skrášľovať tento priestor.
Clearing stones and cutting wood.
Nie je to o rezaní dreva alebo zbieraní kameňov.
Although we can't exclude those things,
Aj keď z týchto vecí nemôžeme ich vyňať.
that's not the purpose.
Nie je to cieľ.
So I should have said this at the beginning.
Mal som toto povedať na začiatku.
So it's too late, but I said it already at the end.
Už je troška neskoro, ale aj tak som to povedal na konci.
So that's it.
To je všetko. Počúvala nášho učiteľa
At the same time, I was starting translating Shobogenzo.
a v tom istom čase som začínala prekladať Shobogenzo.
And frankly speaking, when I came back to Germany, I said to myself, okay.
A pravdu povedať, keď som sa vrátila do Nemecka, som si povedala, OK,
You have learned all this, but now you have to apply it in your life.
teraz všetko si sa tam naučila, ale teraz to musíš aplikovať vo svojom živote.
And if it works, then I accept it.
A keď to bude fungovať, tak tým som to prijala.
And if it's not working,
Keď to nebude fungovať,
I have to look to find something which can satisfy me.
a keď to nebude fungovať, tak budem musieť nájsť niečo iné, čo ma uspokojí.
So after 10 years, it wasn't really settled to that extent that it is now after.
Takže po tých 10 rokoch to určite nebolo také uložené, ako to mám teraz.
It still needed another 10 years and even more
Takže to ešte potrebovalo ďalších 10 rokov alebo aj viac,
to really make it what I have heard part of myself.
takže aby som urobila to, čo som počula, časťou mňa.
And it is true, I did pass by phases where I read many other books.
A určite som prešla cez fázy, kde som čítala kopu iných kníh.
And I noticed that it gave me a lot of confusion.
A všimla som si, že ma to dosť splietlo, dosť spletenia tam bolo.
It was because I wasn't yet really, how would I say,
Ripe.
ripe, yes.
To som ešte nebola zrelá.
Yeah. So it is really like that Fortunately, I had the translation going on in Germany and going back to Japan, always to check with sensei.
Ale určite dobre bolo, že som akože pokračovala v tom preklade v Nemecku a z času na čas som chodila za učiteľom do Japonska si akože to skontrolovať.
I kept in contact with my teacher all the time and I could verify also with him all the time.
Takže som bola stále v kontakte s môjim učiteľom a stále som si s ním to vedela skontrolovať.
And the translation itself was somehow helping me going on even when doubting.
A ten preklad ma určitým spôsobom udržovalo na ceste aj v tých časoch, keď som pochybovala.
So I think it's quite natural that we doubt.
Myslím, že je prirodzené, že pochybujeme.
And now I have faith in Zazen and I find really what our teacher Nishishima Roshi told us and taught us is a good way to live.
A medzi časom som pochopila, že to, čo náš učiteľ učil, že je to dobrý spôsob života. V zázene som to pochopila, alebo zázenom.
But it did take time and I think that's the same for everybody.
Ale trvalo to nejaký čas a myslím, že to platí pre každého, že to rovnaké.
It has to sink in.
Musí sa to usadiť do vašeho vnútra.
Only then we can be satisfied.
Len vtedy budeme spokojní.
You know, there's a very good saying, but there's one word in English missing.
Že je nejaké porekadlo alebo nejaké úslovie.
We say in German, knowledge or Wissen ist ein Fass ohne Boden. Can you translate?
Yes.
Good.
Že pravda je ako keby nejaká nádoba bez spodku.
Poznanie, nie pravda.
Knowledge.
Wissen.
Okay.
And that includes all our, what is written in books and in, what we hear, what we kind of...
What is it in English?
Yeah, that's the problem. I don't know what a Fass ohne Boden is in English.
It's a pot without a bottom.
Yes.
Bottomless pot.
No, yes, bottomless pot.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Okay.
And I think that's so true. It's so true. 1 million of lives are not sufficient to
get knowledge.
Yeah.
Information.
Knowledge.
Že milión životov nestačí na to, aby ste to poznanie pochopili.
Without intuition, it's useless.
Bez intuície je to bezcenné.
It doesn't help you.
Nepomôže vám to.
You're just accumulating.
Len akumulujete.
It's a bank of information.
Je to banka informácií.
It's a sad life if you go on like that.
Je to smutný život, keď takto pokračujete.
This is what I learned.
To je to, čo som sa naučila.
I noticed as if Gabriele underlines what Mike is teaching by expressing herself. Although Mike and Gabriele are two different people, and that's what is beautiful about it, is that I noticed they have something in common, clearly, some kind of simplicity. So Gabriele being here helps me understand Mike better. Or I can see your simplicity better because of Gabriele expressing it. So I can notice you have your character, your mentality, your emotions, but that's not what you're teaching. And Gabriele has her personality and likes and dislikes, but that simplicity that you both have is the same. And I think that's what I'm, after I started to understand a little bit that this simplicity I should do in my life too. I can see it's sometimes very difficult because, and I can notice all the Buddhist students, as if we are afraid to be simple. We want to know more and read another book. We are afraid to be simple. And
afraid to let go.
And I'm trying to learn this simplicity. So I always remember Mike, just what's the next step? Okay, so I have a problem in my life, but after all, what can I do? Only the next step. And it works. You know, I'm also immature. I'm trying to learn from you, and I can see there's another person comes and helps me to understand not more, but more simple, something more simple. So it helps me be more simple too. Like, you don't have to be that complicated, and I enjoy that simplicity. If I can apply it in my life, if I can learn it from Mike or Gabriele, or from Brad. I only met him once, and you know, he writes about all kinds of things, and you may not like everything he writes, but I can always sense some kind of simplicity behind all that stuff that he has to write. Just, he's not afraid to be simple and say, look, I don't know, I don't understand this shit. You know, he's not afraid. Just be simple, or stupid, but not badly stupid. Stupid in a way like a child that is ready to enjoy whatever is happening now. I don't think Buddhism is complicated, but we are afraid to be simple. Very afraid, I think.
You need to translate. All the things we enjoy.
Že jednoduchosť môže znamenať, že stratíme všetky veci, ktoré si užívame.
But it doesn't mean that.
Ale neznamená to.
It's not simplicity without any possessions.
Nie je to jednoduchosť bez akéhokoľvek majetku alebo vlastnenia.
It's not the simplicity where we get rid of all our desires.
Nie je to jednoduchosť, kde sa vzdáme všetkých našich túžob.
It's just the simplicity of yes. So don't misunderstand.
Nechápte to zle.
Yes. We're afraid. Oh, it's too severe. Oh, I won't be able to get drunk.
Príliš ťažké, nebudem sa môcť opiť.
I won't be able to have sex.
Nebudem môcť mať sex.
Oh, I have to make my life very simple and severe.
Musím urobiť svoj život veľmi ťažký a tvrdý.
No.
Nie.
Not like that.
Nie takto.
I know that Tibetan Buddhism concentrates on mind.
Viem, že tibetský buddhizmus sa sústreďuje na myseľ.
Workings of the mind.
O tom, ako myseľ funguje.
In the ancient psychology.
Starobylá psychológia.
And our line of Buddhism
ale naša línia buddhizmu
doesn't come from the mental aspect.
Nevychádza z mentálneho aspektu.
But we found by experience that practice gives us mental simplicity.
Ale prišli sme na to, že praktika nám dáva mentálnu jednoduchosť.
Not working on the mind to make the mind simple.
Nie pracovať na mysli, aby sme tú myseľ zjednodušili.
Because actually there's only the mind to work on the mind.
Pretože je len myseľ, aby pracovala na mysli.
So a complicated mind is making a mind simple.
Takže komplikovaná myseľ zjednoduší myseľ.
So it's like standing on the carpet
To ako keby ste
and pulling it out.
na koberci a snažili sa ho vytiahnuť.
Tomáš,
So our teaching says don't work on the mind. Of course, the mind is important.
Tá naše učenie hovorí, nepracujte na mysli, samozrejme myseľ je dôležitá.
Work on the body mind.
Pracujte na tela mysli.
Zazen,
Zazen,
healthy eating,
zdravé jedlo,
exercise,
cvičenie,
sport,
šport,
balance.
vyrovnanosť.
They will give you a healthy mind.
Tie vám dajú zdravú myseľ.
So don't worry about your mind.
Takže netrápte sa vašou myslou
Then it will become healthy.
a ona sa stane zdravou.
So worrying about healthy mind is unhealthy.
Takže robiť si starosti o zdravej mysle je nezdravé.
At the same time, modern psychology is very effective.
Ale na druhej strane moderná psychológia je veľmi efektívna.
I trained as a psychotherapist in the 1970s before I went to Japan.
Ja som bol psychoterapeutky v 1970 predtým, než som išiel do Japonska.
And I practiced as a therapist for 7 or 8 years.
Takže učil som sa od tej terapistky a potom you practiced?
Yes.
Že som praktikoval tú psychológiu.
In a crisis center.
How long?
7 or 8 years.
7?
or 8.
7 or 8.
7 alebo 8 rokov v krízovom centre.
Working in a crisis center.
Takže som robil v tom krízovom centre.
For people who wanted to kill themselves.
Pre ľudí, ktorí sa chceli zabiť.
And also with students at college.
A tiež so študentmi na univerzite.
Who had problems.
Ktorí mali problémy.
But when I met Nishijima Roshi's teachings,
keď som sa stretol s učeniami Nishijimu Roshiho,
I found I didn't need that viewpoint.
Zistil som, že nepotrebujem tento pohľad.
But then recently I found that the psychotherapy is very useful.
Ale nedávno som zistil, že psychoterapia je veľmi užitočná.
And actually I attended a psychotherapist for nearly 2 years.
A navštevoval som psychoterapeuta v podstate skoro 2 roky.
To help me find answer to getting angry.
Aby mi pomohla nájsť riešenie, akým spôsobom sa nahnevám.
And that was very helpful.
A bolo to užitočné.
But it didn't interfere with my Buddhist life.
Ale neprišlo to do konfliktu s mojim buddhistickým životom.
I went to see a therapist every week.
Vždycky som raz za týždeň navštívil terapeuta.
And talked about my past.
A hovoril som o svojej minulosti.
And my childhood.
A o svojom detstve.
And the kind of triggers in my character.
A o nejakých spúšťačoch v mojom charakteri.
That make me angry.
Ktoré ma... kde ten hnev vo mne vzniká.
And where they started.
Kde to začína.
So that was all very useful understanding of myself.
Bolo to pre mňa veľmi užitočné, aby som si sám sebe porozumel.
But I didn't feel anything to do with Buddhism.
Ale necítil som, že by to nejak súviselo s buddhizmom.
So my way of living, Buddhist way of living, and psychotherapy are completely different to me.
Takže môj buddhistický spôsob života a tá psychoterapia boli pre mňa úplne rozdielne.
Somehow my Buddhist life doesn't matter about psychological problems.
Ako keby môj buddhistický život sa netrápil mojimi psychologickými problémami.
Or more simple than psychological problems.
Ako by bol oveľa jednoduchší ako psychologické problémy.
So I looked at psychological problems on a different level.
keby som sa pozeral na tie psychologické problémy na inej úrovni.
And I found psychotherapy is very helpful.
A prišiel som na to, že psychoterapia je veľmi užitočná.
From both sides, as being a therapist,
Z obidvoch strán, ako byť tým, že som bol terapeut kedysi
and using therapy in recent times.
a že som v nedávnom čase navštevoval terapiu.
So there's no need to, if you live a Buddhist life, there's no need to deny.
Takže keď žijete buddhistický život, nie je potreba toto popierať.
The value of understanding ourselves.
Nie je treba popierať hodnotu pochopenia samého seba.
So we don't need to be afraid to be simple.
Nemusíme sa báť byť jednoduchý.
It's scary
Nemusíte sa toho báť.
because it's insecure.
Pretože je to neisté.
But you get used to it.
Môžete si na to zvyknúť.
Modern times became twisted. Why shouldn't it take 20 years?
Že naše myslenie v súčasnej dobe je prevrátené a si hovoríme, že prečo by to malo trvať 20 rokov.
Our life experience teaches us.
Naša životná skúsenosť nás učí.
There are excellent people who can understand or realize what life is when they're young.
Sú úžasní ľudia, ktorí si vedia pochopiť, o čom je život ešte keď sú mladí.
But not me.
Ale nie ja.
So I think most people.
Ja si myslím, že väčšina ľudí
we take 10 or 20 years to understand our life.
Treba nám 10 alebo 20 rokov, aby sme pochopili svoj život.
Why should it be shorter?
Prečo by to malo byť kratšie?
This is modern ideology, that everything has to go fast.
To je moderný spôsob, moderný prístup, že všetko by malo ísť rýchlo.
I was more interested in what did you feel like the biggest obstacle for you?
Chcel viac vedieť, že čo bola najväčšia prekážka.
Myself.
Ja.
I think it's a question of throwing things away.
Ja si myslím, že je to otázka zahadzovania vecí.
So it's very difficult to throw things away.
Je ťažké zahadzovať veci.
Ideas have a piece of elastic.
Myšlienky majú tú elasticitu, sa vrátia.
I had lots of elastic.
Som mal veľa tej elasticity.
I confirm.
So throwing things away doesn't mean throwing possessions away.
Zahadzovanie vecí neznamená, že zahadzujete to, čo vlastníte.
Throwing away something.
Zahadzovanie niečoho.
Dropping off something. Again and again.
Niečoho a stále a stále.
Do you think that moving to foreign country like Japan, a very different culture, that it helps you in big way in throwing things away?
Yeah.
Že či si myslíš, že odídenie do inej krajiny ako Japonsko, že či to pomáha k odhadzovaniu tých vecí?
Yes.
Že áno.
But everybody can't move to Japan.
Ale nemôže sa každý presunúť do Japonska. But they might come here then, so we may switch.
Yes.
Take the land to being here.
Throw away our point of view is what I had to do.
Je to zahadzovanie našich pohľadov na veci a to je to, čo som musel robiť.
So for 4 or 5 years in Japan, I had terrible time.
Takže 4-5 rokov v Japonsku som mal ťažký čas.
To throw away my point of view.
Zahadzovanie môjho pohľadu na veci.
And still it comes back sometimes.
A stále to niekedy prichádza naspäť.
Can I ask you about simplicity? I think about what you said and what the word means, and I want to ask about my experience with the people, simple, like when you say simple people, I think about my grandma and people.
Že sa chcem opýtať o jednoduchosti, a keď hovorím o jednoduchosti jednoduchých ľudí, ako stará mama.
Mm-hmm. They live on village and they work on a field and
žijú na dedine a robia na poli.
And it's very easy to make them ideal that they are really kind people.
A ako si urobiť taký ideál, že sú to milí ľudia?
But in fact, I see that because the only thing that my grandma, for example, that she studied or not studied, but she believed is the Christianity, the Catholic Church.
Jediné, čomu verila, alebo čo určitým spôsobom študovala, boli katolícka cirkev a to ich učenie.
And the traditions that they are in village, that to be, these people are very sensitive to things that others think about them.
A že tí ľudia na tej dedine, tie tradície a tí ľudia sú citliví na to, čo si o nich druhí ľudia myslia.
And also another example of the only thing that you may study as an ideology, as you said about the Buddhist. I thought about the Islamic extremists. Yes,
nejaké niečo iné, čo som si tak porovnával ako s islamistickými extrémistami.
That the only thing that they see and they hear and the only source of information is some guy that's telling them that if you die for Allah, you will go to heaven.
Že oni majú taký úzky pohľad, že ten jediný človek im hovorí, čo majú urobiť a im hovorí, že keď zomrete pre Allaha, tak pôjdete do neba a tak.
And there's the 72 virgins on the chains for you.
A tam je 72 panien.
So that's something I imagine a simple person, but you can see this is not so good.
Že takto si predstavujeme jednoduchého človeka, ale nie vždy to je dobré tak.
Yeah, same kind as that.
Yes.
But if you believe, when Europe was very strong Christian society,
keď bola Európa veľmi silná kresťanská spoločnosť,
everybody knew what to believe,
každý vedel, čo má veriť,
how to behave,
ako sa má správať,
most people.
Všetci.
So they could be fairly simple.
Mohli byť veľmi jednoduchí.
But we lost our faith.
Ale stretli sme našu vieru
in the modern world.
V modernom svete.
So we don't have anything to believe.
Takže už nemáme čomu veriť.
So it's very difficult to be simple.
Takže ťažké je byť jednoduchým.
So Buddhism says believe in reality.
A buddhizmus hovorí verte realite.
Don't believe in something spiritual.
Neverte niečomu duchovnému.
Or something material.
Alebo niečomu hmotnému.
Believe in this world, this life.
Verte tento svet, tento život.
Now.
Tu.
So then, if you believe in something, you can become more simple.
Takže keď niečomu veríte, môžete sa zjednodušiť.
But it's important what you believe in.
Ale dôležité, čomu veríte.
So similar to terrorists.
Takže je to podobné tým teroristom.
Yeah. But different belief.
Ale iná viera.
So it's impossible to die for this world.
Nezomriete pre tento svet.
They can die for their belief.
Tí môžu zomrieť pre svoju vieru.
Because they have another world.
Pretože majú iný svet.
But how can you die for this world? Then you come to this world.
Ako môžete zomrieť pre tento svet, keď ste na tomto svete a už...
So I think it's a paradox because Buddhist simplicity is not being narrow-minded, but not being narrow-minded, not blind simplicity.
Že buddhizmus neznamená mať taký úzky pohľad, nie je to byť slepý.
But to be simple, more like a child.
Byť viac ako dieťa.
Before somebody manipulates the child.
Než niekto to dieťa zmanipuluje.
So I think I had a similar great-grandmother who I heard stories about her.
Ja som mal prastarú mamu, o ktorej som počul nejaké príbehy.
How simple she was.
Aká bola jednoduchá.
And she only, as far as I know, she only worried about her family being happy.
A sa len starala, aby jej rodina bola šťastná.
And to go to church.
Aby chodila do kostola.
And work hard. So I think there's this Buddha, each of us, this simple, sincere, caring way of life is Buddha.
Že tento jednoduchý spôsob života je Buddha.
But then if somebody says, oh, you have to do this, this is the right thing, and we have to kill those people because they are wrong.
Ja niekto povie, musíte zabiť týchto ľudí,
it's not simplicity anymore, it's being manipulated.
Je to byť manipulovaný.
And we don't want to be crazy Buddhists, like, I only believe Mike, and I will do anything Mike tells me to do. That's not what Mike wants us to do.
A nemám byť taký bláznivý buddhisti, že len spravíme, čo Mike povie, že to nie je, čo po nás Mike chce. But Mike said at the beginning that we should take a teacher and learn everything from him, bad and good. So in fact, he said something different, like you said now.
Yeah, find a teacher and learn everything from them, but doesn't mean you have to like them or do what they say.
Aha, že nájdete si učiteľa, naučte sa od neho dobré a zlé, ale neznamená, že to musíte mať rád a neznamená, že to všetko musíte robiť.
I used to criticize Nishijima Roshi a lot. We had real,
fights.
Ja som kritizovala svojho učiteľa veľakrát a sme bojovali.
I didn't accept everything he was saying.
Neakceptovala som všetko, čo povedal.
The whole 10 years I was there.
Celých 10 rokov, čo som tam bola.
And even when I came to Japan, the last time I saw him, something like 4 years ago.
Takže aj pred 4 rokmi, keď som tam bola, asi naposledy.
It was the biggest fight we had.
Bola to najväčšia hádka, ktorú sme mali.
You know what I told him? I said, you're not a Buddhist.
Ja som povedala, že nie si buddhista.
You remember, Mike?
I remember, yeah.
This was only between us.
Bolo to len medzi nami.
But nevertheless, I know that his teachings are what I can accept.
Jeho učenie je to, čo môžem akceptovať, prijať.
But there were many sides of his character.
Bolo veľa vecí v jeho charaktere,
I had to criticize.
Ktoré som musela kritizovať.
The way he treated women.
Spôsob, akým sa správal k ženám.
These are cultural differences I didn't accept.
To boli tie kultúrne rozdiely, ktoré som nedokázala prijať.
It was not about me because he never treated me badly.
Nebolo to o mne, pretože nikdy sa ku mne nesprával zle.
But
he's afraid of you.
But how he treated a Japanese woman who's living in the dojo.
Ako sa správal k japonským ženám, ktoré žili v tom dojo.
So there were some of the aspects of his character I really detested.
Boli nejaké aspekty v jeho charaktere, ktoré som odmietala.
But that never interfered in our relation in concerning Shobogenzo translation.
Ale nikdy sa to nedostalo medzi náš vzťah, ktorý obsahoval preklad Shobogenzo.
or his Buddhist teachings.
Alebo jeho buddhistické učenie.
So that's very important to understand.
To je dôležité pochopiť.
You don't need to love your teacher.
Nemusíte iba mať rádi svojho učiteľa.
You can criticize,
Môžete ho kritizovať.
and that's what we did
To, čo sme urobili
sometimes.
niekedy.
Anyway, it's important to see the difference between the way that we learn normally
Je dôležité pochopiť rozdiel medzi spôsobom, akým sa učíme
in the
normálne
modern world
v modernom svete
and kind of very unusual traditional apprenticeship
a
system.
medzi takým veľmi tradičným v dnešnom čase neobvyklým spôsobom učenia učiteľa a žiaka,
That the world is forgetting about.
ktorý už dnes svet zabúda.